Hey BookTube, it's Jack from Jack's Literary Corner, and I'm going to do a review of a book that I started last year and finally finished. Now that I think I've said this before, that just because it takes me a whole year to finish a book, or even longer than that, doesn't necessarily mean I was bored with the book, or I didn't like it, and I was forcing myself to read it. It's just, with denser, longer books that are 500 plus pages, and sometimes even a little bit less than that, will take me a long time. Unless it's like really like fast paced, then it's gonna take me quite a while to because I just sometimes I have an attention span of a toddler where when it comes to sometimes when it comes to books that big, um, and and the book I'm talking about is this one right here. I just didn't want to hold it up, and I probably wouldn't have held it up the whole time, so I want to see it airing since on. I don't know how it's gonna look when I finally upload this, but in case it looks upside down on the screen, it's Malice by Gwynne. The first book, and I don't know if it's a trilogy or if it's a series. I know there's two other books. I don't know if I would have to double check if the author wrote any more. It might just be a trilogy. The next book is, I think, Valor, and then Ruin, I think. Yeah, I think Valor is the second book, and Ruin is the third book. I don't know if there's another book after it. But I know the author started writing more books from like a spin-off series or a prequel series, I don't know. But every time I go to My Books A Million, I see the next one, the book that's part of the other series there beside this one, but I never see Ruin or Valor at Books A Million. And that always happens because I'm like, I'll see the next book, I'm like, oh, I'll get it another time, because I'm like, but then when I'm ready to buy the next book, it's never there. But I guess that's the thing about having a smaller bookstore, a smaller store, is they're not always gonna have all the books in a series. Like, there's no guarantee. Luckily, the Wheel of Time, the first few books were there. But, who knows if they'll be there again. But anyway, so let's talk about Malice. And hopefully this review will be a lot better than my Goodreads review. That was kind of really lame. But part of the problem is I'm not good with critiquing. It's like, I don't see the criticisms until after I watch someone else's review where they point out to me, and then I'm like, oh, I get that, I can see that, or, I agree with you there, or I don't agree with you, but okay, you make it like I see what you're talking about. Not that I ever actually talk to people directly, but, my ratings usually are on pure enjoyment. There are some books that, yeah, I don't like them, like Red Rain by R.L. Stine, did not like that book. And, and that was one of the few times where, like, my criticisms were more about, like, how the book was written and stuff like that. Because there's some, it wasn't just about, because I like that genre, I like horror genre, and I grew up reading the Goosebumps books. But usually, if I give a book an okay rating, the part of my review, or part of my feelings, does stem from if it's a genre I'm not as big of a fan of. So my ratings are biased. I am not a professional, I can't remain unbiased. If I was a professional in writing reviews for a newspaper or a magazine, which I did for a while, I don't know how well I did, but the woman that ran it, my boss, was good with them. She didn't ever say anything, so, and I never got anything anyone never wrote in the magazine, commenting on anything that I know of. So I'm assuming I did good. But, if I was writing, like, for the newspaper, or, like, I can't remember what our newspaper is called, but yeah, I would try to be a little more unbiased, a little more critical, but it's very hard. Even though I'm great at English, does not mean I'm great at reviewing books. But I'm gonna do it, so here goes. Okay, so Malice is the first book in, like I said, I don't know if it's a series or a trilogy. I want to say it's a trilogy, but there might be more books, I don't know. And it takes place in the kingdom of the Banished Lands. And there are several kings ruling each part of the lands and stuff like that. And there's giants, and the Fallen, which I think they're magic. I don't know. But in this, one of the kings, King Aquilus, has come to realize, I think it was Aquilus, has come to realize that there's a possibility of this prophecy that was made long ago is about to be fulfilled. The prophecy that the two gods, their champions, will do battle and probably fight to the death, and they are known as the Black Sun and the Bright Star. So Aquilus, I think it's been, like I said, I started reading like last year, so I don't remember the details exactly, but I believe it's Aquilus, and he decides to call a war council with all the kings and to explain to them, to tell them what he suspects. And of course, not all of them believe, but there are some that do, and they pledge their allegiance to King Aquilus in this war. But his son Prince Nothair, he believes, but his priorities are a little different than his father's. He has great ambitions. He's finally ready to take his father's place on the throne. Of course, his father doesn't think he's ready, and so he continues sending Nothair on these war bands to help prepare them for the final battle. And Nothair decides to go talk to the Vinthalin, Thalin, goes to talk to them, even though his father forbid him to go see these people. And he believes that he is the Bright Star. He believes that he is this chosen hero of, I think Elion is their god. I don't remember what the other god's name is. So he believes he is the chosen one. Campaign, not warband. Campaign was the word I was thinking of. So he goes to talk to these guys and teams and forms an alliance with them, telling them that he is the Bright Star that is meant to save the kingdom and defeat the bad guy and all that. And meanwhile, there's also Nothair is one of the perspectives. It's a multi-perspective story, and then Nothair is one of the perspectives. And then the another perspective is Veridus. He is from another king. He is from Fiefdom, I think that's what they're called, or another part of the kingdom. He is the son of a lord, and he also is like Nothair. He's been kind of hidden by the shadow of his father and his older brother's reputation, and with encouragement from his brother, Veridus goes to join Nothair's campaign and become one of his men, and eventually he gains Nothair's trust and his friendship, and Veridus believes in Nothair and follows him, looks up to him and admires him and respects him, even though everyone else is like thinking Nothair has got a little too big, his head has got a little too big for the crown, and not everybody trusts Nothair. But Veridus is loyal to Nothair, and I think he kind of is desperate for someone to look up to and someone to follow who understands him. So the two of them, and eventually Veridus becomes Nothair's first sword, which is like I think it's like a general. And then in the other part of the kingdom, in King Brennan's kingdom, you have another main character is Corbin, who I'm guessing he's like 18. He is this young man who's desperate to be a warrior, to prove himself, to fight for King Brennan, and pass his test to be declared a warrior, to be considered a man. And he's like working hard, and he's just very eager to become a man. And of course, he has the troubles of teenagers. He has the sister wanting to tag along and everything, and 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 he has to protect her and be responsible for her. He has and there's a bully in his part of the town, the kingdom, that's always giving him a hard time. And then he even becomes friends with forms a bond with a little wolven cub that he calls Storm. And unfortunately, it's a wolf, so it's a wild animal, and that leads to some trouble later in the plot. And Corbin is not only, Corbin might have a bigger destiny than we realized. And it's something that his mother and the stable master, the one who's kind of took him under his wing, knows. And it's hinted that there might be more to Corbin than meets the eye, and he doesn't know it. And then our last main character, our last perspective, is Evanus. That's probably me. I'm not dyslexic, obviously, and I'm not, I read fantasy all the time, but I have a hard time pronouncing these fantasy names, and I can understand why some people would find that incredibly annoying, especially if the fantasy genre is foreign to you. I know my parents wouldn't, I think that was part of why some of people like my parents wouldn't read Harry Potter, because there are a lot of bizarre words. I mean, it was Wednesday, I think we were kind of debating over how to say Hermione's name in Harry Potter. And he was saying, I can't remember how he said it. It looked like it should be pronounced. Herman, I don't know, but he knew that would drive me crazy. He was just doing it to mess with me, and he knew I was going to get annoyed. So, I mean, he does that constantly. Not in a mean way, but in a playful, my dad's going to tease me kind of way. But I do get a little aggravated sometimes. I mean, well, more than sometimes. I get aggravated a lot when he does that. But I know deep down it's not, he's not trying to be mean or anything, or get me, he's just messing with me. But, really? Of course. But, yeah, for those, I get it. The names in fantasy are very hard to pronounce and figure out how you're supposed to say them. So I don't know how to say these, and I still don't know how to say these, and there needs to be, a pronunciation guide in every fantasy book. Unless it's, a fantasy that takes place in our world. If it's paranormal or urban fantasy, then, yeah, the names are probably gonna be similar to ours, if not the same as ours. But if it's a whole other world, then, yeah, they need a pronunciation guide. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Where was it? So But Evanus, he is like Nother. He's a bit ambitious, but he's pretty, you can tell he's not someone to be trusted. And he is a counselor and an advisor to Brennan. But when his wife is very ill and is on her deathbed, Evanus wants to stay behind and take care of her, but Brennan needs him on the battlefield. He needs his help. So he tells him, no, you can't stay behind. And since then, Evanus has bared a grudge against King Brennan and decides to switch sides. But actually, the funny thing is, I forgot about that part until when I was finishing up the book, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why he's all, being all, traitorous and stuff like that. So, he's definitely... Okay, I don't know why it does this, but I guess because now I have all iProducts, both my iPhone and my iTouch will let me know a half a second after it already let me know, or, I got the messages via my phone or something when people text me. But that's Terry, but that is Terry texting me, actually, because, we were talking earlier. We were texting earlier. Okay, I gotta get back on the review. Sorry about that. I hope you guys aren't ever bored with my videos, because I know I get off topic a lot. So anyway, so those are the main characters: Corbin, Evanus, Nathair, Veridus, and Corbin. But we do get perspectives of Corbin's sister Cywin, who also she's not some damsel in distress. She's not waiting for some guy to sweep off her feet, although she likes guys. She's a warrior and a fighter, as a mean throw when it comes to knives. She's very feisty. And then you get some perspectives of some of the minor characters like Camlin and I can't remember what the other guy's name is. But yeah, like I said, I had a great time with it. But yes, it's probably like the writing was not fabulous, but it was good. And, I mean, I'm sure this is nothing really original about this story, about this plot, but I had a great time with it. I had fun, and it was a fast-paced book. The chapters were short. I always mention that in the review, because that's a big deal for me. Well, not that big of a deal, but I appreciate when chapters are not that long, especially a book that size, because then it does feel like you're getting through it faster. And the same thing, let's see what else. I feel like I could relate to Cywin and Corbin on some level, even though it's a medieval setting and they're in the middle of this war-torn country, and they're doing things that I cannot begin to relate to completely, I still couldn't relate to what they're feeling. Like, Cywin is this, as a female like Cywin, I understand the whole idea of being treated as I'm just a girl and I'm not capable, and then also having, like, even though I don't have an older brother, I do have a cousin that is like a brother, like we're as close as brother and sister, that would protect me like Corbin would. And then Corbin, he's desperate for approval and to prove his worth, and to become a man. And yeah, I'm not a boy, but the idea of growing up and finding your place. Like, I definitely couldn't relate to that. And it goes for both Cywin and Corbin. And then, I really like, one of my favorite characters I couldn't necessarily relate to is Veridus. Because I liked his struggle and his conflicts. Like, he was desperate to have someone to look up to follow in, to do his own thing and get out from under his father's and his older brother's shadow. Even though, like I said, when I was summing up the book, everybody keeps telling him that Nathair's head is too big for his crown, and you can't trust him, and you have to be wary of him. And towards the end of the book, Veridus is going down a very dark path that makes everyone wary of it, especially King Romar, the other king, who's like, I think he's Nathair's uncle or something, like, or they're related somehow. And it's definitely a book that has a lot more, like, scenes of characters interacting with each other and discussing politics and political alliances. But there are a lot of battles, and it's very good and Gwynne is very good with descriptions, in my experience. I guess I have to watch someone else's review to know what other people would say. And it was just it's a fun ride, most fantasy is a fun ride for me, even the ones I'm just like, about. I still have a good time riding it out. Like, unless I DNF the book. And I definitely didn't. It just took me a long time to read it, because, again, like, my attention span is like a toddler's when it comes to books that length. Although it helps that it's, like, fast-paced and the plot was exciting most of the time. And now, if you're someone that does not like, how George R. Martin, when he writes, because he has so many characters, sometimes it ends on a little bit of a tiny cliffhanger each chapter. And you have to wait until you get back to that character. The good news is there weren't that many characters in this book, thankfully. Like, I think it's it's set up like Song of Ice and Fire series, but on a smaller scale. So there isn't as much. It's still epic, but not as big as like Westeros, the story of Westeros. And of course, it's also just the first book. But like I said, it might just be a trilogy anyway. I don't know. I have to double check that. But that's why I gave, I loved it, and I had a good time. I liked all the characters. I do have predictions of what's going to happen. And I think, not 100%, but I think my theory about some of the characters was proven correct. But it's like a 90% confirmation by the end of, like, they didn't spell it out, but it was kind of implied, but it didn't, like, they didn't officially say, and I kept waiting for the moment when someone would finally tell that character, guess what, you're not, I don't want to spoil it or anything, but, I kept waiting for the moment when this was officially, like, explained or told or whatever. And even though I'm a little wary of Nothair's character, especially after he does this one thing that he does, or people say that, like, something happens, but people suspect that he's the cause of that something happening, or not the cause, like, he's the one who did that something, like, people suspect that, and I think those people are right. I don't think Verandis is right, that he believes that Nothair did not do this thing, and that this other person did it, but I think he did do it. So I don't trust him. I don't trust Nothair. I trust Verandis, but I don't trust Nothair. I think Verandis is being manipulated and blinded a little bit by his devotion to Nothair and his loyalty to him. And like I said, I think he kind of identified with Nothair a little, like, he connected with them, and that's why I think his opinion is a little biased towards the guy. He likes the guy because, like, he can relate to him. And like I said, I don't know if the Infallen are magical. I don't remember if they are or not. But they were definitely interesting. And there are giants in this book. There's no fairies or leprechauns or dragons or anything like that I know of, or elves. But there are giants in the story, which I like the giants. I think they were kind of cool and interesting. And I really like it when fantasy books focus more on fantasy creatures that you don't get a lot of. Like, yeah, you have stories like Jack and the Beanstalk, but most stories focus, like giants are like the dumb brutes. They're like ogres and orcs. They're like the huge brutes that fight for the good guys, and sometimes the bad guys. In the Harry Potter, there's a possibility there was some of them do side with the bad guys, if I remember correctly. So I like that they had the giants in there, but I still am one of those people who loves, like, fairies and witches and wizards and vampires and werewolves, although, like I said, in the past few years I've moved on from the whole I still have a soft spot for the vampire stories, but I'm not going to go get books that have vampires in it. I won't seek them out unless I'm just really, like, what is her? I know there's a popular author, YA author on BookTube she has a vampire, like The Damned and the Beautiful or something like that. But I can't remember what author it is, but she has a new vampire series coming out. Everyone's all excited about it because, yes, unfortunately, most of BookTube does. You guys, we do love YA. I say we because I still like it too. Unfortunately, that gives BookTube the reputation of, they only read YA on BookTube, which really drives me crazy. But anyway, but I really, I still, like I said, I like vampires and werewolves and fairies and elves and all that, but it's but also even elves, like, you don't have a lot of stories. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was interested in R.S. Salvatore's, his part in the dark, the whole Forgotten Realms, and there's the character Drizzt, and so he's a dark elf and everything. I was definitely intrigued by that. So it's kind of nice that they focus more on the giants in this story. Like, they were the mythological, the creature that wasn't human, although they're humanoid. Let's see, I do like Evanis as far as, like, he's one of those guys he's the character that I'm gonna love to hate. That's what I feel like. That he's definitely a character that you're gonna love to hate. Because, you just want to punch him in the face. Such a douchebag. I can't stand him. And it's like, and of course you have the sob story about his wife and the reason why. But as Brennan pointed out in his drug-induced state, he was kind of drugged at that point. I probably shouldn't have said that. That might have been a spoiler. But anyway, he said that he pointed out that the only reason that was just an excuse for Evanis to go after Brennan and betray him and stuff. But I think it was legit. He was definitely grieving. His wife died, and he loved his wife. I'm not saying he didn't, but I still think, even though that was true, I think he didn't use it kind of as an excuse to, like, as a good motivation. He was like, well, you didn't let me go be with my wife now, so I'm gonna screw you, even though, I'm gonna betray you. I think I do think there's kind of like the push, the catalyst, the thing that finally pushed him to do it. But I think he definitely was gonna do it. He was probably gonna betray him anyway. I love the wolf. I love Storm. She's so cute. I would love to have a pet wolf. She reminds me, of course, of the dire wolves from Song of Ice and Fire series. She was so adorable. I love a pet wolf, but I know that they're wild animals and they're vicious. And I probably couldn't tame a wolf, but I have trouble just getting our dog Rascal to listen to me. And she was so cute and everything. And Storm is adorable. And in the good news, there wasn't a whole lot of romance. I know people get tired of where there's a heavy focus on romance in fantasy. There wasn't a lot. There were still, characters, having crushes, the teenagers liking, having crushes and stuff like that. But there was very little of that. So I'm sure a lot of people would definitely appreciate that. I don't know what else to say. I just had a great time with this book. I can't wait to read the next book, and now I can officially ask my mom to get the next book for me on Amazon, because it, like I said, it has not been on Books A Million, at Books A Million. And like I said, it is, I think the next one is Valor. But anyway, so those are my thoughts. Like I said, I know I got off topic a little bit. And again, I hope you guys still like watching my reviews, even if I get off topic. I should look at my reviews video and see how many of you actually watch them, because then maybe that will tell me if I need to just remember to not get off topic at all. But then again, I don't, maybe that's... But anyway, so, if you guys want to check out this book, it's a good book. It's decently written. It's enjoyable. I'm gonna probably watch other reviews after I upload this, so to see what other people, and maybe there's some things I missed. I'm probably gonna be like, dang it, I should have mentioned that in my review. I actually agree with you there, or I don't agree with you there. I don't know, but I will find out. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!